Welcome to NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series, where we focus on how financial advisors work, live, and give to their local communities and our greater financial services industry. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, everyone. This is your co-host, Chris Gandy from Advisor Today's podcast. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Suzanne Carawan. Suzanne, happy day to you. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks. Always great to be here. Excited about our guest today.
Wonderful. So, Suzanne, you're always smiling and always a positive reinforcement of that. As NAIFA, we're doing all the wonderful things. So with that, I know you're out scouring, creating relationships. And so some of those relationships result in sponsors and things like that allow for us to do what we do here. And so can you share with us who our sponsor is for today's program?
Sure, I'd be delighted because today's sponsor is Heroes of Zero. You can go to heroesofzero.com. And what's exciting about this is an upcoming event that's happening May 16th and 17th in Nashville, Tennessee, a real hotspot as it is. And it's for people that we all know very well at NAIFA. But if you're outside the NAIFA circle, maybe you're not aware that if you're a member of NAIFA, you get to rub elbows with these types of people. So we've got Ed Slott, Tom Hagna, David McKnight, and Van Mueller, all Heroes of Zero. And because of that, we're happy to be able to say to all NAIFA members, there's a $250 discount that you can get, as well as you can hear John D. Richardson, one of our up and coming stars at NAIFA, a past NAIFA Tennessee president. He's also going to be speaking about why NAIFA is also a hero of zero. So again, that's May 16th and 17th in Nashville. If you're a NAIFA member, you get $250 off. All you have to do is call into our line or hit me up, and I'll give you the code for that. And we're very excited to have Heroes of Zeros. And David McKnight will be at our Apex conference in September at the Arizona Biltmore to talk about information he has with his new book. And he was on, I want to say, Chris, with you and I, maybe 2 or so weeks ago. And it's great to have that in the family. And then speaking of Van Mueller, our guest today is Iris Nance from Farmers down in Virginia. But I want to mention it because one of the other things we're able to do, Van Mueller's a longtime member. We got together with Gabrielle Reina, who's another member, and she said, hey, we'd like to have a way to have Van Mueller come speak at our Embrace conference. And so we were able to facilitate that and have Van Mueller at the conference. And when you know who else was at the conference, but our own guest, Iris Nance. So pulling it all full circle because where NAIFA members are, good things are happening. So welcome to the program, Iris.
Thank you. And by the way, I'm from Nashville, so I might have to check that out.
Oh, you're originally from Nashville.
I'm originally from Nashville.
You're just down now in the Tidewater area now.
Mhm.
Got it.
So Iris, welcome to the Advisor Today's podcast, where we talk about all things of all things. So, people may have seen you before, but they may not know who you are. They may not know, how to approach you. So this is a way for our NAIFA contingency to get a chance to really know you and kind of feel like we're having a conversation. So with that being said, share with us a little bit about your practice. Are you in personal production? Are you in management? Tell us a little bit about your practice, where you practice at, and then kind of the focus of your practice if I was to come see you today.
So again, my name is Iris Nance. I'm happy to be here. This is a little out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to make it work. I am a farmer's insurance agent. I've been a farmer's insurance agent now for 26 years. My background, I was a bank examiner with the FDIC for over 10 years, got married at that job, was 99% travel. So as you can imagine, having a husband and children, that career was out the door. So my husband and I just happened to was trying to figure out ways for me to be available for the girls. I have twin daughters, Ashley and Megan. They're now 29. We were trying to figure out a way for me to be available for them. And so I just happened to get a postcard in the mail from Farmers and about agency ownership. And I don't even think I knew what I was getting myself into, but it allowed me to be available for my girls. They cheered, they rode, they played in the orchestra. They got an awesome opportunity to play at Carnegie Hall. And my husband and I, we were able to support them in all of that. So Farmers has been great. My practice is primarily property and casualty. I am securities licensed, so we do provide financial services as well. And just wanted to share how I got in NAIFA. Jeff Lane, I don't know if you guys know Jeff Lane. He was the president of a Tidewater chapter at the time and encouraged me to sign up for LUTCF. So I got my LUTCF, and once I got that, he told me I had to join off of NAIFA, not, you consider it. He told me I had to. So when he said you had to, you just listen. And so that's how I ended up in NAIFA.
Got it. So you were voluntold.
I was voluntold.
I like that, Suzanne.
That's right.
Yep. Suzanne, I like the idea of giving someone direction, i.e. get your LUTCF and then join the association. And this is the association that will lead to longevity. And this is where all the wonderful people hang out. So Ms. Iris, you could have looked back, but you went from bank examiner, which is completely different than insurance and financial services. What made you make the leap? Like, how did you make the leap and say, you know what, I think this is what I want to do?
The only reason I did it, honestly, was the flexibility that agency ownership afforded to be there for my girls. Like I said, I don't think I really knew what I was getting into. And once I got into it, I realized what I didn't know, which I'm thankful for that. And I got books. I attended any kind of conference. I know one conference I went to, I was the only farmer's agent in the room. Everybody else was all state. So I just found whatever I could to learn the business so I could be successful.
So you got into the business, flexibility allowed for you. I mean, you were in finance, right? So it wasn't a foreign language, right? You were able to utilize those skills that you had to transition. And then you became a NAIFA member. We'll talk about the progression of your NAIFA involvement and kind of some of the things that you've done. But in having a conversation before this, and we're going to skip all that, and we're going to go back to the fact you have twin daughters. Okay, let's if you want to talk to Iris, you need to talk to her about her twins. So tell us a little bit. You have twin daughters. Have they ever wanted to come into the business? Have you ever thought about, maybe I should, maybe this is something that, when they were younger and now they're 29. So tell us a little bit about kind of your thought there. Tell us a little bit about, are they involved in the business at all? Are they, maybe their client? I have no idea. I'm just asking a question. Just kind of share with us a little bit, because I think in our mind, all of us feels like we're building something that becomes our lifelong legacy, right? And so we would love for our kids to follow in our footsteps, but that doesn't always happen that way, right? Because they're individual crazy people and they do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. But that's a whole nother conversation about parenting. But tell us a little bit about your twins and kind of how financial services has allowed for you to share with them or give them opportunities that they might not have had unless you were in this space.
Well, part of that flexibility was bringing them to the office. So I actually had them working in the office when they were in high school. They would file and, answer the phones. And now they want no parts of it. So my husband is an anesthesiologist. And I guess that's what jumped on them, because they actually went to VCU, graduated. One has a science degree. The other one has a degree in criminal justice and forensic science. And they're both now in a nursing program. One wants to be a CRNA and the other wants to be she said she may pursue nurse practitioner, but they're both working on a second bachelor's degree in nursing. So I tried, and I would love to have them as part of the agency, but they want to do medicine. And one of the things I'm so grateful for is, before I got into insurance, I had my niece was passed away. It was a random act of violence. And at the time, my husband was on deployment, and the girls and I were back in Virginia. And I realized at that moment, I didn't have life insurance on my family myself, because all I had was what was on the job. And so a New York Life guy came to see me. And the one thing I really regret at that time, and I'm passionate about doing it myself, is that I was adamant about term insurance, and he didn't try to educate me on the benefits of getting permanent life insurance. So once I got into the business, I did get permanent life insurance on my kids, and I've been able to pull from those policies to help them with school. So that's just been phenomenal. So,
wow, there was a lot in there.
So so your story is interesting, is that there's a lot of people that don't know the ins and outs of life insurance. They don't know the benefits of it and how to use it, right?
Right.
But again, the idea of you going through the process, but there was a catalyst to doing that. It was something happened that catapulted you into the realization that, you know what, I have to look around. And so how many clients are like that? And so it just reminds us that we have to do the right things, even when we may not feel like we need to, as we need to be out there having conversations with people, because there's a lot of people like you that fell in love with the business because it provided those things for you once you got into it. Share with us a little bit about, mentorship and the opportunity to learn from others. Who would you say that you looked up to in this business, and then how did they mentor you? And then last but not least is, have you taken the time to mentor others and share with others how you're passing the torch that way? 26 years, I mean, you come across a lot of people.
Yeah. So, the person who I would reference that mentored me, and I'm going to go back to the beginning, is her name is Melinda Taylor. And I was a secretary with the state for her and another high level executive in the Department of Education. And I can remember, I had to work and go to school. And so at that time, I asked them both if I could use my lunch time to go to school and so I could get my associate's degree. So once I finished my associate's degree, I made the comment that I was done. And she said, "Oh, no, you need to go back and get your 4-year degree." And me being the person, and you guys have probably figured that out about me, when the right person tells me what to do, I do it. So she told me to go back and get my bachelor's, and I did. And without that degree, I wouldn't have had the opportunity with the FDIC. And I really don't think I would be where I am today if I hadn't listened to her to go and get my bachelor's degree. I got my bachelor's degree in accounting. And so she was the major mentor that put me where I am today. But of course, Jeff Lane, I already mentioned him, but another major mentor for me has been Tim Westerman. And I know y'all know Tim. He has been just phenomenal. Because when I was first, because I'll just go back. When they asked me to serve on the board, so somebody came up to me, I was always at the meetings. And so somebody came to me and said, "Iris, I think you should be on the board." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't know what that meant either. So I ended up on the NAIFA board. And then from there, Tim actually asked me to serve on the state board. And then it was time for me to step in as the president of the Tidewater chapter. And I was really hesitant to do it, but if it wasn't for Tim encouraged me along the way. And even when we did the visits on the Hill, he always let me tag along, and just has been just a great mentor. I don't know if you guys know it, but he's retiring. So I'm really sad about that part. Yeah.
Oh, breaking news right here on the
Yeah.
podcast. No, I did not know that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was in the helicopter with another colleague and announced it I saw it on YouTube, but yeah, he's retiring. But he has been just a phenomenal mentor for me as far as NAIFA. And I'm always about giving back. I'm actually a mentor to, I mentor the students at the local high school. They have an entrepreneurship academy. And also Envision Lead Grow is a nonprofit that helps young girls open their own businesses. And so we get on a call once a month, and I meet with them and help them put together their business plan. So I mentor those young girls as well. I'm all about giving back. I love it.
So Iris, you've mentioned, one thing I'd like to ask you is that you mentioned you got the postcard in the mail from farmers. You kind of fumbled your way into agency ownership. At what point did you realize you're a small business owner and like you're part of the community, and how important that is and what that means to others?
I think I realized that early on because I've always reached out to the high schools, because one of the things that I want to be able to do is there are kids out there just like me, like I started out, who somebody kind of pushed me along to do more than I ever thought I could do. So I try to reach out to the high schools in the inner city to try to bring those kids into the agency to assist. And I've had some great students come through the agency and just give them the opportunity that they wouldn't have otherwise. Because in my opinion, insurance is a great opportunity. If you don't want to go to college, even if you don't want to go to college, you can work in insurance and have a great career. So that's always been something I've done from the very beginning, just because somebody did it for me.
Well, that's an interesting path. So tell us, Iris, I'm going to ask some questions about just how you grew up. I mean, I'd like to know where the desire to excel comes from. So tell us a little bit about either your mother, father, brother. Are you an only child?
No, it's 5 of us.
Okay, perfect. I'm getting somewhere. So where do you fall in the pecking order of the 5?
I'm the oldest.
Firstborn son. Got it. Firstborn son. There we go.
So it's fair to say that failure couldn't be an option for you unless you wanted all your siblings to follow in your footsteps. And so there was a level of responsibility that you had that the others didn't have. So where does your drive come from? And then how do you continue 26 years in? I mean,
yeah,
you've done well. You and your husband, anesthesiologist. I mean, you guys have done well. You're empty nesters. The kids are out on their own. They're never off the payroll, but the kids are out on their own.
They're still there.
And you guys
don't tell me that.
They're out on their own, but they're not off the payroll. Got it.
Hopefully, when they get the nursing degrees, they'll be off, but they're still on right now.
Right. Like, figure it out.
Yeah,
right. So share with us your motivation. What motivates you? Where does your motivation? Where did it come from? And how do you continue to embrace it and use it going forward?
So it actually comes from the fact that I come from a single parent household. I watched my mother struggle and depend on. She depended on other people to help her. Y'all get what I'm saying. And so I did not want that to be my life. And so I knew the ticket for me would be to go to college. So I can remember going off to college, and I was trying to go away to college, and my mom wouldn't let me because I was the quiet one. I was the one, she thought that if somebody said, Iris, let's go do this, I would go do it. But, I really wasn't that kid. But anyway, my mom needed us to help her financially. So she didn't see college as a serious thing, unfortunately, because she had a high school education, and told me I had to help her. So I went and got a job, and it took me a while to get out of school just because I had to work and go to school. But I finally did that. But just watching my mom struggle was my motivation. I just wanted to have a life that was not that. And
so how do you continue to stay motivated, right? I mean, you've been motivated to this point. Is it something just people ask all the time, they're like, Chris, do you wake up with on 10 or what's the story? I'm like, nah, I got to get there. Yeah. So where does your motivation come from now in looking at the future?
And I think my motivation comes from me just wanting to be independent. I mean, people mess with me all the time and says I don't have to work because I'm married to a doctor. And that's probably true, but I like my independence because because I saw my mom being dependent on men to help her pay her bills and stuff, and I just and believe me, my husband's glad I'm the way I am. He's glad I want to be independent, but it just comes from that, and I want to be that example to my girls because I don't want them to feel like they have to depend on anybody else but themselves to be successful. So, with girls, you just gotta always be, showing them, the example.
So Iris, what a wonderful example of stewardship by leading by example and giving them life lessons by allowing for them to observe not only your work ethic, but seeing that, you could probably have a good life, but you can have even a better life and be able to be independent even without someone else's involvement. So it's interesting you say that about physicians. There's a statistic out that 90% of physicians are within 2 paychecks of going broke, regardless of how much money they make. I mean, I work with a lot of them, and you and I both know, if you know your husband and your husband has other colleagues that are attendings, you and I both know that 90% of them are really bad with money. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. And so many people believe that they're taken care of, but I can tell you that a lot of my practice is in the medical space. So I feel for you because of it. Interesting.
What I tell you about my husband grew up in a single parent household too, and we both have the kind of the same mindset. He is now when it comes to business, he's clueless. But when it comes to the money part, he's a great saver. He doesn't, I mean, now what he does is he doesn't do a whole lot, but he spends money on what he wants to spend money on, but he's very good with like saving and stuff. It's probably an anomaly compared to
Perfect.
people who you deal with.
So that's
awesome.
interesting. Can I ask that? So both of you are coming from single parent households. Now you're coming together, and Chris, what we were saying before is Iris can't make it to congressional conference this year because she and her husband are celebrating their 30th year of anniversary, 30th wedding anniversary. But like the two of you coming together in that household, how did you come to one mind on what you're going to do financially with the girls and everything? Because that's interesting, right? You got the one whole household thing. Did you battle it out for a couple of years, or did you get on the same page? Because also we just said you got married and bam, you had those twins right away.
Right. So I think part of it too is that my husband had to go, like we got married in May. I think maybe September he went on deployment, and I had to take over the finances. I can remember when we first got married, of course we didn't have any kids at the time, and we noticed that we had insufficient funds in the checking account. I'm like, wait a minute, we make too much money. And of course he wasn't making much, but I was the major breadwinner then because he was in medical school. He was just got out of medical school. But we sat down, and I made a spreadsheet, and we were eating out so much that we didn't realize how much we were eating out, and we stopped. And I think we just have a like mindset, but I've been handling the bills ever since, the finances in the household, ever since he went on deployment, and he never took it back. So I think we just came together at that time and just kind of stayed there.
There's one way forward, right? So
yes,
you got there. Mm-hmm. So share with us a little bit about your vision for the future. I always ask people what's their exit strategy for our business, because it's one of those things that the business is never really celebrated while we're building it, and we spend so much time, energy, and effort. So share with us your future. Where are you trying to take your practice? What are you trying to do? Share with us your vision for the future, because you're not done yet. You just began. You got to catch John Wheeler, who's like 62 years in the business. There's a lot of time. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to do all that, but at the end of the day, share with us the vision for your business going forward.
Well, Janet, you mentioned that I met some agents at the Embrace conference that have been in the business. This one female agent said she'd been in the business 40 years, and I'm like, wow. So I that's what I love about what I do, is that I can do it as long as I want to. And I watched my mother-in-law and my mother retire and literally go to the house, and now they're having troubles with mobility and moving around with walkers and needing a lot of assistance. And so I don't want that to be my story. One of the things that I'm wanting to do with the practice as well is offer Medicare, and I'm probably going to use that as a part of retirement whenever I decide to do that. I mean, it was just so exciting to me to meet somebody who's been in this business for 40 years, and she looked great. And so if I can continue to do this, now I know my exit strategy is I wish my kids could take it, but that's not going to happen. But I would have to, find a buyer for the agency. That's pretty much it. And then keep the Medicare book and be able to work that as long as I want to.
You mentioned this Embrace conference. For those who don't know what that is, can you give it a little bit of light? Because it sounds very inclusive. It sounds very uplifting. But what is the Embrace conference? I mean, is it this, where everybody gets together and they hug and say, okay, hey, thank you for a week? What is the Embrace conference? What is that?
Well, I guess that was Gabriella's vision. And like I said, I think initially it started out as a way for the Hispanic agents to come together, and it just expanded from there. But I met some agents I hadn't seen in a while. We have a Facebook page of all the successful agents, since I met some of those guys. And the speakers that they had were phenomenal. Of course, Van Mueller was there. This gentleman, I can't think of his name right now, been 80 years old. And top of the table, MDRT guy. I mean, he was phenomenal. And so the first time I attended Embrace, they did it online because it was when COVID was going on, and it wasn't as great as this one that was in person. And I didn't go the next year, but the year after that, a lot of agents on that Facebook page I'm a part of were just raving about how great the conference was. So I decided to go this year. Met some agents who I wouldn't have met otherwise. It was just great to connect and to be able to learn from the successful agents, because they had a panel of the really successful agents who shared what the things that they're doing to reach, toppers and President's Council and MDRT. So I like going to stuff like that, because you got to always be learning. In order to be better in this business, you got to always be learning.
ABL, always be learning. Suzanne, we need a hashtag ABL on our
And I
podcast.
hung out with Randy while I was there, Randy and Emily. So that was
Randy
great.
and Emily were there. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
So this Embrace conference, can anybody come? Is it just for farmers? Tell me a little bit more about this opportunity that exists. And I'm assuming this Embrace conference happens once a year. Where was it? Where did it happen this year?
It was in Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, Las Wages. Okay.
So I think she's been having this conference. This might have been maybe the 4th year. And I think what she's trying to do is a lot, they have the toppers and they have the President's Council for the exclusive agents who make those levels. But what about those agents who are back here who don't make those levels, who maybe want to learn on how to get to the next level? And I think that's what you see mostly. There's mostly agents. One agent I met has been an agent for 3 years. So it was agents from all levels of experience. So it was awesome. But it is farmers agents.
So Iris, are you sitting back saying, what do I need to do to get to the next level? Are you saying, how do I become the best version of myself? Because if this opportunity that's I'm learning from, what are your thoughts now? Because people go to conferences. I ask you this because people go to conferences, they come back, they're all juiced up. They come back with the big binder that looks like this. They come back with the big binder. They say, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff I've learned, and then it goes on the shelf and it never gets seen again. So what are you doing now to embrace the things you learned? Oh, look at that synonym. Look at that. Embrace what you learned at the Embrace conference.
So one of the things I know is huge right now is AI. And I've been so hesitant to deal with AI. I just, I'm like, okay, I don't understand it. But I met this agent who stopped for a minute and said, hey, here's the app. I put the app on my phone. I asked a question, I've asked a Medicare question, created a post and sent it out to all my clients. We don't have district managers in Virginia, but I met 3 phenomenal female district managers who share their information with me. So if I have any issues or have any questions, I can reach out to them. So just that alone was that was invaluable in itself. Just the connections that I made. And as a matter of fact, I did another AI question this morning that I'm going to post. So I'm not scared of it as much as I was before.
That's good. That's good.
Embracing technology.
Embracing technology, yeah. Sometimes it's scary.
embracing technology. So talk to me a little bit about your relationship with NAIFA now. So it sounds like and I don't know the answer to this. It sounds like you've gone through, you've volunteered. Well, as you mentioned, you were there, right?
Yeah.
You voluntold, you were there, and then someone tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, by the way, you can lead better from being in the front. And someone talks you into, yes, going through the chairs. So I want to talk about going through the chairs as a female, going through the chairs as a minority female. Okay. And then kind of being in the space, in a space where you are a minority female running an agency, an insurance agency, specifically because of the dynamics of the industry. Share with us a little bit about what are some of the challenges and struggles you have from there. So let's start with the first question that I kind of threw out there was, how did you go through that? How did you decide to go through the chairs, and tell us a little bit about your experience as a female and as a minority going through the chairs in a state where you might have been the first.
And I am the first in this state. But anyway, I don't think I got the direction I needed initially to go through those different chairs, because I think they started me out as IFAPAC. I had no idea what that was. And I never, ever, they kept saying there was somebody that did it for years who could assist me, and I never could connect with them. And then I moved up to, what is it before you become the president?
President-elect.
President-elect. And
Mhm.
I put that off as long as I could, and then I just had to step up. But I think I just got in my mind, okay, Iris, you're gonna have to just go ahead and just do this. And that's what prompted me, like, I need to go to congressional conference, I need to do Lilly, and I did all those things so I could be better prepared to lead. Because I'm that person. I'm the worker bee. You tell me what to do and I do it. I'm not one to just step up and lead. But Lily definitely helped, and Susan and Rose. I don't know if you know Susan and Rose Goheen. They were phenomenal in helping me get myself moving forward to lead. I mean, it's still a struggle because some of the men in the group kind of, won't let me do what I need to do. And I've had to speak up a couple of times, but I mean, that's part of, being a leader. So it's gotten better. And, even, before I got to NAIFA, anything I ever went to outside of farmers, and even with farmers, we're in the minority, sometimes I'm the only Black female in the room. So I've just had to navigate through that, and I've done it.
So not only have you done it, but it sounds like you've done it pretty successfully.
I'd like to think I have.
Okay, I'd like to think
Albeit
that
maybe a little reluctantly, but yes, you've done it. Like it's like
you've done it successfully. It sounds like you did it in your agency and your community. You continue to do it through mentorship. Sounds like you've done it and been a shining example for NAIFA and the state. Even when not being invited, you were like, I'm going to seek out opportunities to involve yourself. And so what an amazing space that is for you. Tell us now where that kind of leaves you, because you're kind of a one-man band, like you're on an island, right? And so what's the next opportunity, and let me ask this connection with NAIFA. Why is the NAIFA relationship important to you? What does it represent to you, NAIFA?
So a couple of things is the education opportunities. Although I have my securities license, we have training through farmers, but it's, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not as, I would just say I get more from what I get out of NAIFA, just because I guess NAIFA is all about financial services. And so I've been able to take advantage of the training opportunities there. I've met some great connections. I mean, with you two. I mean, I would have never met you guys if I had gone to congressional conference. So I'm just so thankful for that. And then from there, I was able to connect with the National Association of African American. You part of that, right? Insurance. So I'm now a member there, and I'm going to try to get more involved there as well. So I mean, like I said, without NAIFA, I wouldn't have these great connections. Without NAIFA, I wouldn't, be able to take advantage and learn more on the financial services side than from what I'm learning, because you always need to have multiple ways to learn. And so I'm just thankful for that. I mean, as a matter of fact, when I was going through Lilly, one of the assignments was to go to the NAIFA website and look up certain things, and I didn't even realize some of the information that was there. So Lilly helped me to be able to navigate the website better, to find opportunities to learn more. So it's been great.
Well, we all know the website
I was a member of NAIFA I've been a member of NAIFA for maybe 10 years, but I never knew all the stuff that was on that website, which is kind of sad, but at least I got to it. Lily really was great.
Iris, I will tell you that I'm still trying to find all the stuff on the website. There's so much because the reservoirs are so deep that we it's hard. It's a challenge to navigate at times, and so there's so much there. Sometimes it's easier for others to point it out, but again, they pointed you in the direction. So kudos for going through Lilly. Lilly was an experience for me. I went through it. You went through it. What did you gain the most out of Lilly? Just curious.
The biggest thing I learned from Lilly was of course, the community of the people in the class with me, we still kind of stay in touch and everything. We're talking about like meeting monthly just to kind of stay in touch with everybody. But it made me sit down and really look at my numbers, which, I look at them kind of, briefly, on a daily basis, but to dig deep and look at my numbers, that was really eye-opening. And so it allowed me to put some things in place that I probably should have put in place a long time ago.
Yeah, I would say for Lily, for me, was it was okay to let your true authentic self through. That the eulogy broke me. It was
that was a good one too.
That exercise in self-reflection and realizing that the impact we have on the lives in which we touch is so important. And it sounds like you're doing all those wonderful things in your community. Suzanne, do you have another question for Miss Iris before we jet off to the lightning round?
I was just going to ask Iris, one thing I'd love to just hear really quickly is, what is your mindset when you encounter people who are giving you pushback, or they're seemingly not helping to, you kind of mentioned briefly, right? When you encounter someone who's giving you that pushback, they're not allowing you to get to where you need to go. How do you persevere?
My husband describes me as the most non-confrontational person he's ever met. So, I'm that person. But I think in that moment, and because it had happened once before, I just knew it was time for me to speak up. And so I guess I shouldn't say unfortunate, but it takes a lot to get me there. And there were other females in the room, and I knew I had to be that example. So I just said what I had to say, and everything came to where it needed to be. So.
No, Iris, I'm going to say this, and Suzanne, I'll never mind. I'll save it for the end.
Okay.
I'll save my comments for the end. But
well, then let's go to the lightning round.
It is a pleasure having this conversation with you. We wish you could be at a congressional conference this year.
I know. I always enjoy that.
We understand there are other things in life.
Montego Bay is calling.
Trying to stay married.
He's trying to stay married.
Trying to stay
Miss
married.
Iris, where are we going for?
We're going to Montego.
We're going somewhere? We're just hanging out?
We're going to Montego Bay. That's where we honeymooned, and we hadn't been back since then. So we're going to go back.
Awesome. Well, enjoy yourself. So, Miss Iris, we're gonna jet off to the lightning round, and the lightning round is where you and I are just having a conversation. Whatever comes off the top of your head, that's the answer. Okay.
Okay.
By the way, I love your book in the back, Playing the Win. See, some people, Suzanne, observe, and some people are observant, right? I observe playing to win, which means she's got a winning mindset.
Oh, yeah.
And I also see in the back, she has the 7 rules of life, just to remind her of the basic things that basically, if I'm not doing these things, I'm not moving ahead. Iris, I'm not giving you, I'm just saying, I see some things around you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent every day. So
I see
with
that trophy too. Yep.
I see them. So with that being said, we'll go to the lightning round. And again, whatever comes off the top of your head, that is the answer. There's nothing that's hard here. We won't ask you your political affiliation. We're not going to ask you what'd you do in grade school. We're not going to ask you any of that. It's just to kind of get to know you. So when people see you at NAIFA events, they feel comfortable coming up to you and saying, okay. Hi, Iris. I enjoyed seeing you on the podcast. Okay. So with that being said, Miss Iris, tell us your favorite food.
My favorite food is anything seafood.
Anything seafood.
Salmon specifically. I love salmon.
Okay, so salmon. Okay, see, that was easy. See, it wasn't hard. Tell us, if you could go anywhere in the world, you and your husband, anywhere in the world, all expenses paid, where would you go, and why?
It would be Hawaii, and I think it's just because that's where I wanted to go initially, and we didn't have enough time. That's you got to have maybe at least a week to go to that place. But I would love to go to Hawaii. I've told my husband that several times, so hopefully he'll surprise me at some point.
If there are other young, aspiring women looking at you in this industry, what are the two things that you would want them to mimic of your behavior?
The first thing I would say is don't don't be afraid when it gets hard, because I see a lot of agents who leave the business when it gets difficult. I mean, you just gotta, do a switch and sell what's on sale, and and go from there. And another thing I would say is always be available to mentor someone to someone else. I mean, because you got some people who don't want to, I've had somebody tell me that they didn't want to volunteer or serve on a nonprofit because they didn't have the type of clients that she wanted, which I thought was pretty awful. So just be willing to serve. When you give, it comes back 200-fold. So
Legacy. How do you want to be remembered in this role?
I just want to be remembered as the person who, when you need them, you're there. And I'll just tell you something really funny. One of my clients, I put the insurance on a house it's a family house. And I went out to deliver some documents to his mom. And as soon as I walked up, I'm like, ugh, she needs a roof. And so it took the carrier a long time to let them know that, but they got the information you need a new roof. And so I referred them to someone, which fortunately turned out to be somebody they knew, and the mom was friends with the person's mom. And so when I called to check on him and told him the roof looked beautiful, because they sent me pictures, and he said, I told somebody, if it's between Jesus and Iris, I know I'm gonna be all right. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm bad, but thank you.
That's a good endorsement. That's a good referral.
If you could, last question for you, Iris, if you can go back in history and have dinner with anyone, whether it's they're living now or back in time, you could go back. Who would you have dinner with and why?
It has to be somebody famous.
It could be whoever you want.
I think I would say Melinda Taylor, the lady who pushed me to go back and get my degree that forever changed my life. I mean, she's gone on to be with the Lord, and if I could see her again, I would just thank her profusely and give her a great big old hug and a kiss, and just thank her for, I don't think she even realized the impact she had on me just by telling me to go back and get my degree.
Look at you now.
Mm-hmm. I'm about to shed a tear just thinking about it. Yeah.
Iris, this podcast, Suzanne, we've actually had a couple people break on this podcast. That last question helps us think about the people in our lives who have meant so much to us, and they've impacted us. And whether we told them, we gave them their flowers while they're here or not, they've inspired us in ways beyond words. So, Miss Iris, you have NAIFA Nation listening. Anything you want to tell NAIFA Nation and or brand new people coming into the industry that's looking at you saying, I want to be like Iris one day?
I would just encourage everybody to please get involved with NAIFA. I mean, my first time going to the Hill, I realized the significance of advocacy and some of the laws and stuff the politicians want to pass that could adversely affect us in our careers. If we could just get more people, even for Virginia, we have maybe, considering the number of people in the Tidewater chapter, it's just a small amount of us that go. But I would just encourage everybody, just I think if you go one time, you'll want to go. You'll want to keep going.
I would echo that. Suzanne, thank you so much, Iris. Suzanne, do you have anything before I close this up?
I would just say thank you, Iris. It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, you too.
Miss Iris, I would tell you that you are a humble servant to many. Out of all the things you said today, I would say that you are humble, but you are focused, obviously. And thank you so much for your service. I know that your mother would be so proud of you, and that you've led so many people by inspiration. And so now you have an opportunity to give back, and you continue to do that in numerous ways in your community. And thank you for being an aspiring leader for, diverse professionals in leadership, because again, you can sit on the sidelines and say, I'm okay, but you've decided that you want to lead from the front as an agency owner. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. And thank all of you for tuning in to Advisor Today's podcast, where we uplift and we promote the voice of all of you And thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you soon at Congressional Conference and soon coming Apex. So get ready for that. We're super excited about that. We're going to be out in Phoenix and where it's a little warm. So we'll be out there having a great time, learning, living, and loving everyone, and look forward to seeing everyone on the next Advisor Today podcast. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series. Make sure to subscribe to get future episodes. And if you're interested in coming on the show, let us know.